Recording in progress.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's 11 o'clock. We have everyone that we're expecting and got a full board this morning. So first of all, thank everyone for taking time on this snowy morning to slide in here. I was out early. I guess it was 6 o'clock, a little after, and there was people learning how to drive again on snow. So it's not quite as bad as that out there now, but once again, thank you for coming. Today we're having two meetings, our annual meeting, which is something that a few years ago was something that was legislated, where the RDC had to have its annual meeting, present what's going on, and as much as anything, go through some of the finances. And fortunately, we have a good finance guy that can explain things as much as you want, or in a broad way, make it easy to understand. So I appreciate that, Jeff. So with that, I think we'll start by calling the annual meeting together. PowerPoint's up there. This is our agenda is very similar to what we've done before. We'll talk about things that we're doing. We'll talk about what the responsibilities of the RDC is, and we'll also go through some of the current projects, and then I've asked John to go through a couple of future projects. So with that, please advance, and I think DT can talk a little bit more.
Yeah, so just a summary of the Redevelopment Commission. Statute creates the commission to serve the purpose of helping generate jobs in communities, and so the RDC does this in the creation primarily of economic development areas, and the designation of areas as economic development areas allows the RDC to capture the tax increment of new projects, so that can be used for the infrastructure that needs to be developed for those projects. As the commission has seen recently with Temper and in the two new Newport projects, there are usually substantial road projects, water, sanitary, and other infrastructure improvements that are either needed or are desired by an economic development prospect. And so in some respects, the capturing of the increment for purposes of funding those projects becomes vitally important every time that we negotiate for an economic development prospect. And so that has been the work of the board, and then the use of those funds in bonds, or as we know it, TIF financing, has really been the name of the game for us. It allows you to borrow money through the issuance of bonds because of this stream of tax increment that you have now have an expectation to. So that has been the work of the commission. It's very traditional work. It's been a busy 5 years here in Montgomery County for you all on the commission, but we have been able to see the benefits from that. Go to the next slide. Just a reminder of who the commission really is. It's 6 members, 5 members appointed by the county commissioners and the county council, and those 5 are the voting members. The school corporations also have a representative. Julie Hess is ours. She's a non-voting member, but the schools who did not always have representation have representation now, primarily because they are one of the most impacted other taxing entities. Of the 6 or so we impact in the Newport corridor, the school is by far the biggest taxpayer. And again, you all, for the community, the commission members receive training on this at the beginning of each year. They've done an excellent job making things happen. And if you circle back and say the number one thing for the commission to do is create jobs, well, we've created some jobs. Really, the first significant job improvement, probably in 25 years, has occurred recently through the work of the commission.
And then there's the slide that shows the members of the commission. As DT said, so please. And then we wouldn't be able to do what we do without having a good group of people we can depend upon, consultants. That slide shows the list with the folks that do a lot of the heavy lifting for the Lockyer folks, BCS management, as I stated earlier, finances through Mr. Peters and his company. And then what's appreciated in my opinion, as much as anyone, is having DT and his firm be able to advise us. And I won't say that I always do what the lawyers say, but I at least take it into consideration. And so far I've slid through. And then we've had the Ice Miller folks, who again, a good group of folks who help us with some of our bonds and band resolutions. So again, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the consultants. Several in this room right now. Please. The work that we do is based on a number of things, and it goes clear back several years to the county plan, the economic development goals that were established by commissioners and council, and things that we were wanting to accomplish. And we do that in a number of ways. You know, we take the things that folks want, take things that people need, and when I say I'm talking about the council and the commissioners, and then we decide the priorities and put a plan in place and update that when we need to and move forward with it. So we're always communicating with potential investors. It's maybe, in my opinion, slowed down a little bit the last several months, but there were a few months a couple of years ago where there was almost daily, it seemed like, responses back to potential investors, and we're very fortunate to have economic development people like Tom and Cheryl to help us through that. And with the help of those folks, we were able to land a couple of pretty decent things and still moving forward with it. So our goal is to market the county with the direction from the commissioners and the council. So it's been interesting, and we've had a good group to accomplish a few things. Please. Some of the current projects, and there's been several, but the ones that we are working on right now, and again, this is with a lot of help from Ryan and his group, but the 136 Newcourt overpass is something that's moving right along, and it's 95% complete with the engineering, and as Ryan updated me a few weeks ago, the bids are hopefully this next July start open the bids, and then we'll start looking towards getting started on that. The next one is dear to my heart, and I'm very happy to see a complete up there, because this one has been more of a struggle sometimes than what maybe it should have been, but that's getting that water line from Timber Sealy, at the water tower there, get it down to the new structures and towers. And while that doesn't seem to be too far, it's just been one thing after another. And once again, Ryan doing the heavy lifting on that, coordinating with the construction guys, and then between Ryan and mostly myself, trying to keep the Newcourt guys informed and happy. And it didn't really get done maybe as fast as they wanted, but it got done. And I've talked to them several times, and they're happy with it, and things are moving forward. The other part is going back to the sheet mill, which is the new coating line. It has galvanizing, and it also has a paint line there. So it's those things we've been working on right along. Please. There's a diagram there, a picture of the Newcourt overpass, and that is so cool just to look at that, and I can't imagine what it's going to be like to drive on it, but it's going to be a couple years. So, but been a lot of work put into that, acquiring right away, and again, blessed running with the new core operations, both of those. So that is really something that's going to be needed. And again, I think it's been I started to say fun, and I guess I'll say that. It has been, it's been enjoyable maybe for the most part to be a part of that. So thank you. So we have that new core road I just spoke of, and there's some data with it. It's estimated cost $22 million, and we've been able to do some funding, and we started on that. John led the way with that probably 3-4 years ago, and we're able to get some really nice funding. It also has some time frames where you have to get certain milestones, which is the engineering, and then you need to get started on it, or while we really don't have money, I suppose they won't give it to you if you don't need what you need to. So it's a huge project, costs a lot of money, and just if you look at the local match there, it's still a lot of money coming from the county, but not near what the whole project is. And it's already know the overpass is going to alleviate a big safety concern there. There's been some unfortunate things happen out there with the stop signs and the grades and such as that. So it's necessary for the betterment of the county, but it's also something very much needed from a safety viewpoint. The other thing that we had was expanding the sewer district, and we had started on that, and there was some different numbers going around years ago about how much we needed to expand it, and when, and different things like that. And again, we had some good people helping us with that, and we're at the place right now where plans are there. All it takes is somebody coming in and saying that they need that capacity, and they should be able to get started on it. So the sewer district is something that is a big plus, along with the water out there. Please. That's basically what I just spoke of with the water main expansion, and it's critical. Obviously, any of this infrastructure, whether it's roads or water or sewer, whatever, is very much needed to keep the place expanding, keep the county moving forward. So we've had some success with that. Please. That shows basically how the line ran, and it runs from Timber clear down to past the steel mill, hooks into the water line there into the structures and towers. And there's obviously land that's available when you're going east and west there, and so there's potential for more expansions. I did confirm that the structure and tower guys did buy an additional couple hundred acres right to the east of them. And as of right now, there was no immediate need to do expansions, but I keep up with some of the guys from corporate, and they are expanding these type of operations around the country. So very interesting. Please.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
That's the Cody line, and again, we've talked somewhat about that, 80 people, and it's started up. They ran a coil out there already. I talked to the GM just a couple of weeks ago, so it's something that's cool. I look forward to maybe getting out there and taking a tour of it at some point. Please. And that's a picture of the Cody line and such. And then the structure of towers, again, we just chatted about that $150 million investment. They're supposed to start up this next quarter, but they are doing things right now, making pieces and parts. I've heard that they've brought in some of the parts that they're not being able to make right now, but they're actually building some of the structures out there. 200 people. Please. And that's a picture that shows the operation out there. Again, it's so cool to go out there and see the amount of work that's went in there. Expansion, please. I like these things, I just put them in there with, that's what they actually build out there. And you think about, a tower or something, and then you see the size of the thing compared to the people, and now you know what they're talking about. There's a huge need for that across the country, please. Again, there's another one. It's made from a lot of flat rolled, comes from the mill right across the street, and they form it into two halves and roll it together, please. And another type of some of the towers that they make, please. Then these are some of the things that we're wanting to move forward with that maybe John can talk about.
Thanks, Rob. Vision. I came in 8-9 years ago now as a commissioner, having a vision for the future of this community and agreeing on the potential that we have and then putting a plan together. And, my second week as a commissioner, I went to the Tippecanoe County, you've heard this a million times, but Tippecanoe County State of the Community Address. And I had the same beliefs I have today then that we have lacked vision and planning in this community for years and years, and that was holding us back. I went to that meeting and sat right in the front with the speakers, believe it or not. They sat me right and every other sentence those guys would get up and talk about, we planned for this, we're planning for that. This is what, and they would show pictures of things that were just like Ron did, things that were completed, things that were in the process, things they were looking. And I left there very confident that I was not wrong about what this community was lacking. Our job is to carry the vision of the leadership of this community. We are not the leadership of this community. We are tasked with the vision. My opinion, we're going to have to, I used to be a commissioner on this board, but we're going to have to do a lot better job going forward of working or having the commissioners involved with what we're trying to accomplish. You see the thing down at the bottom says cancel. We were doing our job. We did our job. We're doing our job. That's, Dan, you talked about exactly what we're tasked with. And because of lack of information, in my opinion, that project was stopped, and it never should have been. It never should have been stopped. It had nothing to do with anybody's name on a plat book. It had everything to do with the geographic location that sometime in the next 100 years could potentially be a positive thing for this community. And that's not the way it ended up. So saying that, we have got to involve the commissioners and continue to educate them. And then when that vision is assured, agreed upon, then it is our job to put a plan together. We've done a lot of work planning HWC stuff, the new alignment, potential corridor alignment of 200 South Purple Heart on up to the mayor's new Skank Road. That's going to create opportunity. That's outside of the city limits right now. That's our purview. Obviously working with the commissioners and the city on that, and the landowners. I met with Shavers out there too. I mean, they've got a big part of what goes on in this community with bringing hundreds of thousands of people here over the whole year, and the opportunity there. And then obviously taking that road on over to, extending it from Ladoga Road on over to Comfort Drive. And you've seen those alignments. There's 3 different options there for alignment, and all 3 of them are railroad, really. The different alignment because of the crossing of that railroad. But that's something that will obviously make it a better opportunity for our community to take advantage of our potential. Another one that we haven't, that's needs to be on the list, I don't see it on there, well, it is right there, next to the bottom of it, 300 south from New Corps Road back to Ladoga Road. That section of road right there, if you look at a map and see 275 or 250 or 275, 250, is that the end of Comfort Drive? Comfort Drive ends at 250, let's call it 250. 250 to connect to 200 to 300, you could do a lot right there to connect those two. Whether you get across, it's another issue of a grade crossing. To get across that railroad to eventually get to 300 or not. But that section road, you're talking hundreds of acres of opportunity right there too. So we've got an initial alignment, but that's something that I think we need to talk about. Taking the next step, maybe not get it all the way to shovel ready like the sewer district, but you know, a 20 or 30%, you know, where it's not, you know, a 5-year deal and cut it down to 2.5 or something. But Comfort Drive, it's not off the table, but the need the intersection was requested by Tipper Sealy at the time. And they were concerned about trucks getting in and off of New Corps Road, and that's not been an issue. Again, you know, if they're geared up and going stronger than it might, but we have that project, I believe, at that 30% level now. So if it becomes a necessity, it can pick up and go pretty quickly. But that's not been. So anyway, those are the initiatives that I see us focusing on in the near term, and continue to look down the road at what opportunities are, what's happening around us. I think to not go east on 32 to Lebanon and see what's actually happening over there coming this way. That could completely change the conversation around the 775 East truck route and 32. That could be a really big deal there. And we're working on houses. We got a lot going on right now in housing, but our strategy as a community has been to capture the tax dollar, the property tax dollars, and invest it back in infrastructure with the knowledge and the goal of increasing our population and capturing that income tax. And we've done that. I mean, we've invested with this TIP dollars we've captured, the ability to do that. We need to, again, stay focused on growing our population. And that's a little bit outside of what we do here, but some of the infrastructure to help that, we need to be part of that conversation as it goes forward. That's all I've got.
Okay, there's a picture there that you want to comment on that.
That's a boundary outline of our TIF area. We have an economic development zone as well that's larger than that TIF area. That was part of a Indiana American Water necessity we needed to do to make that work with that. But the thought was someday expanding that TIF line out to those, to that economic development. And that, I mean, there's other opportunities right now. Like I said, the east or west of 47 is not the city. And if there's something we need to do over there potentially that we can create an economic development area and a TIF. But I think from our experience of working with the city on 200 South, the city's very aggressive or active in stepping up and doing that and putting that inside. So I don't know that that's something that we'll have to deal with, but that is an opportunity. So And, you know, a lot of the shaded or hashed areas are, you know, served with sewer and water currently. Several hundred acres out there from the infrastructure that we put in that's ready for Cheryl or, you know, whoever to market. Some of us get rail access as well already, CS6 site identified. So that's a really cool map when you take time to look at it. Everything that we've done and doing to make that thing what people want to come here and be a part of.
And again, this is just a placeholder, and it lends itself to what John's talking about. Is, you know, what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and what we have accomplished. It's just not trying, but we have accomplished, and it goes back to the vision for the county. It goes back to working together with others and communicating about what we're doing, but also being open to ideas about the future. And these things that we're talking about here will outlast any of us here by years and years. Excuse me. And some of it's going to take, a lot of it's going to take years and years to accomplish. But as that saying goes, unless you actually take that first step, you never will progress on that journey. And that's all in all what we've been taxed with, and we've done a good job with it, and got a good group of folks. So please, that says it all right there. Make it get ready, yeah. And there's places out there right now, if there was somebody came in and wanted something and it was the right thing, that we could have it ready in short order, which in my opinion is a couple of years. Please. Now we'll get to the meat of the matter with finances. So please, Jeff.
Thank you all. You know, one of the requirements, or three of the requirements you really have to hit at this meeting is your budget with respect to allocated property tax proceeds, and we'll show that here a little bit further along. The long-term plans for the allocation area, I think you hit on a lot of that, and then the impact on each of the taxes. So the annual presentation that you have before you today with the tax impacts looks at New Core Road, New Core 2023, and the temporary allocation areas. Other areas will be added as they begin to actually have activity and anchor for them. The allocation area from the original New Core, part of it was carved out to form temper sealing, and as Ron had mentioned, funded additional water, sewer, road, and rail infrastructure. The commissioner's budget, or the commission's budget, can be seen on page 3. If we could just kind of flip to that real quick. So this we carve out of the county's fiscal plan and look at, in gross, all of your allocation areas together for the Redevelopment Commission. The money that you've brought in, the cash that you have on hand, the expenditures that you've made, down in the bottom section in your ending cash. In 2025, you can see that you are spending approximately, or it's estimated to spend about $323,000 more than what you brought in, which would still leave you ending operating cash at about $1.5 million. In 2026, we would anticipate that your revenues and expenditures pretty much equal each other, except for you spent $1.4 million in engineering or more on the New Core Road overpass in the last few years. We plan on $1.4 million being recaptured of bond proceeds and put back into the operating fund. So hopefully you'll get back to an operating balance of $2 to $3 million, like you probably should have had. And that will help you again be in a position to undertake any studies, projects, kickstart any projects while you have funding underway. We could go back to the first scenario, or the first page there. One more back,
One more?
or actually two more back. Long-term plans, we've been through. Something of note to, again, remember, in 2023, Newport paid off the 2018 bonds that the district had outstanding and guaranteed the 2017 bonds. They received a tax benefit through Pool 5 and undertook some obligations of the RDC, which again will help you going forward. Next page, please. So if we look at the overall impact of having the redevelopment commission and capturing the tax increment as you have it today versus giving it all back. Because really that's your only scenario at this point is you could release some of the incremental value or all of it back into the tax base for all the underlying units of government. And this would reduce the overall tax rates. If you did that, in summary, this table shows you up above for circuit breaker amounts, because you would lower the tax rate, fewer of the properties would reach the 1%, 2, and 3% tax caps. So each unit of government would net collect more of the property tax dollars, which it levies. So today, when the county levies $100 of property tax, they might collect 92. Under this scenario, if you put that back into the tax base, maybe they would collect 93 or $94. So for all the units of government, the circuit breaker column shows that if you gave back, and there's about $100 million of incremental assessed value that you have captured in 25. If you were to give that back, Montgomery County would get about $753. Union Township, 131, Crawfordsville Library, 157, North Monts Schools, $41, South Monts Schools, $1,739. So in total, $2,822 of property tax collections would be realized by the underlying units of government that you impact. In addition, if any of these units of government had a fixed rate fund, like the county has a cumulative capital development fund, townships have cumulative fire funds, that it is a specific rate that they have adopted or a statutory maximum rate. And they apply that to whatever assessed value is there. So if we increased that $100 million of assessed value back into the tax base, these three units of government would collect more property tax dollars. Montgomery County would collect about $37,876. Walnut Township about $584. Union Township about $23,918. For a total increase in property tax collections for them of $62,378. Summing all those together, all those underlying units of government would benefit by about $65,200 if you were to abandon all of your plans, put all that back into the tax base, and didn't pursue any projects. You, as a redevelopment commission, are collecting about $1.6 million a year in undertaking all of these vital projects that have been laid out to you before. So the thing I always tell people to, really consider is, would you ever trade that $65,000 for the $1.6 million and all the projects you've been able to undertake? And, in theory, and we haven't studied this part, I'm not sure who would do this, but to see what has the overall pie become because of what you've done through these investments. How many jobs have been put in there in place? How many additional homes have been added to the tax base? How much income tax? And income tax, as we get into the new legislation in 2028, is going to be vital as to money that you're generating into your governments for operations. So it's really important, I think, to educate the public and the taxpayers of what it is is that you are collecting, what you've done with it versus the small amount that would benefit if you abandoned it and gave back. Next slide, please. And then the one after that, talked about that's budget. So the other parts of this are the math as to how we get into that. And I'll just walk through kind of in this top example. We've got the different taxing districts. This is taxing district 14. So in taxing district 14 in Franklin Township, you capture in that middle section potential TIF AB of $1.6 million. Today, the tax rate in that taxing district is 1.5390. And it has some rate-driven funds. If you were to release that $1.6 million back into the tax base, the rate would fall from that 1.539 to 1.5366. And again, that reduction in rate is where we would see some of those circuit breaker benefits come through. Same scenario for the following taxing districts. In 32, which is Walnut, you capture about $1.6 million as well. In taxing district 24, you capture about $2.65 million. In taxing district 25, excluding timber, you collect about $50 million in captured TIF AB. And then in taxing district 25 and timber, you capture about $49 million. Next slide, please. This is a calculation of those fixed rate funds. This is the calculation of the circuit breaker estimates for the reduction in tax rates. And again, in the taxing district 14, the total for that's only like $9. And the biggest ones obviously in taxing districts 25 for new core and timber, where the circuit breaker change is $1,300 or so. Next page, please. This is the calculation of the fixed rate funds. So the CCD funds and the cumulative fire funds for the different units of government. Again, if that $100 million were released back to the tax base, that shows the amounts that they would additionally collect or levy. And then the end of this are just commentaries and notes of kind of what I've walked through. We always try to prepare these so that if you have a question from a unit of government later on in the year, you can just bundle this up, email it to them. Hopefully it's self-explanatory and gets them most of the way there. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on this part of it.
Jeff, you know, as I tell you every year, how much I appreciate you making this explainable or understandable. You know, our state legislators are not TIF supporters. I never have quite understand it. I think I'm becoming more aware that if we capture that money, it doesn't go to them first, and I don't think they like that part, but that might be but the way you explain this and the way we use this in Montgomery County should be the example for the state. It is the, you know, our past was pay by cash, and you know, now we're, you know, our strategy today is leveraging future tax revenue to invest today in infrastructure that's going to create the opportunities for, and then you can see the map that's already working. It's not even pie in the sky like it used to be. So thank you for
Thank you, and you're absolutely correct. It is a model.
The way that you guys do it. That's exactly how it's supposed to work, that you capture, you build infrastructure to serve that and to develop the other areas, and you just continue to do that over and over and over again in order to build your old model.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. As I echo what John says, I really appreciate your explanations and how they work, and a lot of people don't understand that. I think it's something else, but really the projects that we've taken, there's been nothing frivolous about it, and it's not been projects that one person has said, you know, I want this, I want that. It's been a consensus of folks that are driving forward to make the county better, and it's been a goal. Please.
One more thing, I think, when you talked about Nucor paying off those bonds, and that gave us more capacity. So, you know, that was a big deal. I mean, that was a big deal for future investment, and that was, I know they, you know, it was good for Nucor to do that, but it's also good to have a partner like Nucor that understands that and what that's really done to our ability to go do projects in the future too.
Okay. That wraps up the annual meeting presentation. If there were questions or comments, we would be open to understanding that or talking about it. I think at this point, I would tell folks that this really is, as I mentioned last year, this was the last year that I was going to participate in the RDC, and so there's going to be somebody else sitting in this chair moving forward. But it's been very enjoyable. It's been challenging at times. I certainly have learned a lot and made a lot of good friends.
You're an original member too.
I've been on this board, I think it's been like 14 years. It goes clear back to the original sewer district, so a lot of changes. But yeah, it's been fun. So I'm trying to think. I don't think I've made too many enemies, but maybe some. You know,
Well,
there's been
Ron,
a few that popped up
I
a
tell
couple
you,
of times.
when I was a lot of times the only guy pushing for things to happen, and I'd turn to my old buddy Ron Dickerson with a little bit of gravitas, and he'd pound that table, and people would pay attention. So I'm telling you, I've been honored to sit next to you here, but you needed to be in that top position on this board all this time, and it made that much difference, Ron. As you know, this was a total team effort, and I know that this community is gonna, you know, be very grateful for everything you've done, whether they realize it or not.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some people that weren't believers to begin with, and I think everybody's really on board now. So, yeah. So once again, that is
Well, thanks for everything you've done.
wraps up the annual meeting. Okay, we can
I'd like-
go. You can either
Ron?
take a break or go right
Ron,
directly.
I'd like to thank you for your time, all the hard work and all the time you put into it. I really appreciate it. It's been a real experience for me, understanding how TIF districts work and what we've done for the community. And without you, I don't think it'd happen. That's just all there is to it. So thank you.
You're very kind. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll go in.
Move to adjourn the annual meeting.
Motion passes, and we are adjourned. Now we'll go right into the regular meeting, unless we need to take a break for some reason. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started with our regular meeting. One thing that we need to get out there, John kind of mentioned it earlier, but to me, is there a need for a December meeting? People have plans and travel and such as that. The only thing that comes to my mind would be, other than it'll be my last meeting, is that we would have bills to pay. But as we've seen lately from a national level, just because you have bills to pay doesn't mean you have to pay them if you're part of government. So I hate having some of our folks waiting to get paid. But I'm open to what everybody else wants to try to do, and we can think about it and plan for later if so. But it would still be a normal meeting, and Lori could maybe tell me what date that would be. Tuesday, December the 9th, so as a board, are people still okay with having a meeting that week? It would probably be somewhat brief, yeah. But again, I'd like to be able to pay our folks, so, okay, we'll count on that then. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We had minutes distributed earlier, and people had a chance to take a look at them, and.
Move to approve October minutes. Thanks, Rex.
Hey, Rex, maybe you could sign this on your way out. I'm just trying to get to that. You are, yeah, that's your.
I will second John's motion.
Oh, thank you for yours. Okay, that goes to Lori. Okay, so minutes were, need to vote on it, so all in favor of the minutes, accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Now we'll move into the next part of the agenda, which is the RDC website, and I'm not sure who's heading that up. Looks like Tom.
Yes, I can give an update. When we did our agreement with the city regarding economic development, we started having conversations with the city regarding the economic development website, and then we had conversations with the commissioners, and they would like us to work with the city to bring our information into the city's website, so there'd be one location for everything for economic development, so there wouldn't need to be a separate website for the Redevelopment Commission. They did express interest in maintaining that information that's on the RDC website, the information that BCS has produced, but that it would be handed over to the city to add to their website. So the commissioners just wanted me to pass that on to you, and we're working with Cheryl and the city on their website to have the county's information as well.
Okay, makes sense.
So who's gonna do the work?
That'd be the
Who's
city.
gonna do the work that BCS has been doing?
That'd be the city staff, Sarah and Cheryl. Sarah Summer, sorry, and Cheryl Morphew.
Okay, we'll move into new business, which is approving the spending plan for next year. And are you leading this, Jeff, or?
I can lead it.
I mean, we've really talked about it in your presentation. If there's any comments to it, or we have a spending plan document that was distributed, so.
Yeah, it was one of those requirements that you were tasked with beginning last year. And what I think everybody in the state has kind of viewed it as is it's a master list and an upper range of things that you could spend on. If you need to make modifications during the year, you can do that as well. So you can just, at your meetings, amend it, refile it. I believe all is good. So what was included in here is pretty much what we had last year. Those large amounts like transportation enhancement project, $10 million, utility infrastructure project, $10 million. Trying to put in placeholders that would not slow you down if you need to impart on a project. But again, it's not something that can be amended if we have a specific need come forward. And with that, we have to answer any questions on them.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward. I think it was distributed earlier, so as the board had a chance to take a look at it, we would entertain a motion to.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Staff reports, I think, Jeff, unless you have something else to add, this has been.
I don't, other than taxpayer deficiency.
Efficiency calculations, we make those once they make their property tax payments for temporary new court. So we'll work with the auditor's office as soon as we get that information so that we can try and disseminate that and get it out. It has seemed to have taken a long period of time to get those to be paid. I don't know if there's a remedy for that. At this point in time, we have sufficient cash flow that it has not been a problem. But as you go forward, if you commit more of your funds, we may need to refine some sort of collection mechanism in order to get those timely paid.
Do we have a new agreement for the bridge?
It is in process.
It's being reviewed by Newport. They've had it, well, yeah.
And we have been working with both parties to try to help them streamline their internal process to get those payments back to us more quickly. Here's hoping.
It's been better than the first time around.
Keeps getting better all the time.
Okay, Ryan, you have anything? I know you've been a busy year for you, and once again, everything you do is much appreciated.
Yeah, the Nucor water line project, you mentioned it's complete. We're finalizing the contract now. There's a punch list item that they're finishing. I think last week they only had 2 signs left to put up, and then that would be the end of Great X's contract, once we finish all that stuff up.
Good.
And then the intersection improvement that includes the overpass bridge. We were turning in stage 3, I believe Friday of this week. So that'd be the 95% plans that you mentioned. And it's still on schedule and everything's moving forward.
Good.
So, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will say that I've worked with a lot of engineers over the years, and I really appreciate the job that, personally, that you've done for us, Ryan. You answered the phone anytime I picked up, and it doesn't matter what the day is or what the time is. And sometimes we've had some worried people contacting me about issues, and I don't worry because I give it to you.
It's been both ways. I appreciate everything you've done, Ron, and your position. You've been great to work with,
Okay, all right.
as well as the rest of the board.
Okay, thank you. DT, you have anything today?
Just a couple things. Cargill, this morning, talked to our county council about a tax abatement for the expansion of their facility in Linden. And it's about a $17.5 million project. They're going to move their regional office from Lafayette to Linden. They're proposing some improvements, both in terms of capital and equipment, that will allow them to process more grain faster. And exciting thing for the community, not nearly as big as some of the numbers you all have dealt with, but still really great. So the council did approve the declaratory resolution for the creation of that ERA, and they'll be dealing with final approvals on December 9th. So Gary knows this, but now, so you all know, there's some good news up in Linden. Secondly, Nucor Towers has purchased some land to the east there, as Ron mentioned. So obviously, it'd be my recommendation that you expand their allocation area to pick up that parcel they've acquired, so that if they decide to expand, we are ready for that. I hate to be a step behind that. Of course, from their point of view, that allows their taxes to be used if they do ever have improvements on their project. Until they make improvements, it wouldn't matter, but when they do, then they kind of know that we'll have that. It's important because as part of the water project, we asked to be relieved of extending the water line east and west on 500 to our property line, to the property lines of Nucor Towers. And Indian American Water was kind enough to work with us on that, saving us about $1 million. But if the land to the east is developed, then it would trigger our obligation to extend that water line. Now, if it's Nucor Towers, we might not have to extend it for them because they may just connect to their other connection. But it would be important for us to get ahead of that as much as we can. I'd hate to wait 4 or 5 years and forget about it and then have to scramble. But so we'll be bringing to you a timeline of what that looks like. You have expanded Nucor's proper, we call it Nucor, before. It would be much like that, but that'll be something I'll be recommending to you and asking for you to talk about in
That's a good
December.
idea. Yep.
Yeah, just get ahead of it. And then lastly, John asked, I'll just, talk just briefly about the Nucor Bridge project, in that your work will begin on that project in probably March or April, where you will begin receiving information about the issuance of bonds that will help pay the county's portion. And so you know what that means is as people stop me on the street and ask me how much it's going to cost them to build the bridge, I always say, well, you see, it's the taxpayers. At Nucor, this one taxpayer called Nucor, they'll be really, this is where the money comes from, right? No one else. So that's one of the good things about TIF. But, so you have a couple months to rest, but then after the first of the year, we'll be going right into that because that project will be let in July. And then because we have this state match, we have to close that bond within 90 days. So it is going to be a bit of a hustle once we get going. So we will be pushing out information to you probably beginning of March so that you guys know well ahead of time what's happening, when it's happening, and we'll get going. We'll get going with that. But that is, so you've got a quiet maybe December, January, February, but then once we get to March, April, May, it's going to be busy again with that financing and the issuance of that bond and the project. And I agree, Ryan Padno's done a great job for us, and Jeff Peters both. The world was different before those two guys got here, and so I can attest to that. Great teammates to have.
Okay.
So you're talking about expanding the TIF area, the lines of the TIF?
The Nucor Towers allocation area only.
Okay.
Just that one. We carved that out
Yep.
in 2023 to say, we're going to let that stand on its own. So
Okay.
the part of it that's south of 500, where the current Nucor Tower Structures is, we would just take that and add their parcel they've added to the east.
Gotcha.
That's all we would do.
Okay. Not, I just think of bigger picture, if we're expanding the TIF, then we could consider expanding it on all sides of the TIF. But if you're talking about specific to that, then that's a different conversation, yeah.
Yeah, sure, the commission can do it like
Right,
that. We're just
right,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah, I'm
we would
good.
be silly if
Yeah.
we know that they've purchased it and it's right next to them.
No, if I'm good.
Yeah.
I got you.
If you want to have larger conversations, you may, but this looks pretty evident that it would be them.
I would be surprised
an
if
end
that's
user.
not expanded in the near future, to be quite
Right.
frank, so, yeah.
Yeah, not very speculative when you see that happen. They could just be protecting their border, but that makes perfect sense. If you just took an aerial view of their structures, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, Jennifer, you have anything today?
No, you all should have received the financial report, and the biggest update from that will come after December settlement. So the January meeting will be more informative.
Okay, thank you. TK, you have anything else?
Just a few things. Want to echo everyone's thanks for staff, Ryan and Jeff and Lori for putting together everything for these meetings. And also recognize Cheryl, because the Cargill development wouldn't have gone forward without Cheryl being involved, getting them to get all the information together and meeting with them and having conversation with the council and such. So I appreciate Cheryl.
She
Cheryl.
did all the work, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
really
So
did.
welcome to the team, Cheryl. Appreciate that. And then Ron, you too. Thanks for everything you've been doing for the county. We really appreciate that. And just want to give you two updates. They aren't related to the TIF district, but everyone asks about them. First one is our courthouse project. Hopefully you've noticed that the scaffolding is down. And we still do have some exterior work to be done. We were using a lift to fix some of the stone on the building. So you'll still see some work out there, but the roof is done, all the guttering is done, and interior work is almost done. We've got a couple more, some work in the courthouses, in the courtrooms, but we're almost done. Early December, we'll have probably handover of the product to us. And there may be some things that need to happen in the spring, but most of it is being done. So thanks to Mark Bonwell for coordinating that project for us. He's done a great job on that. And then Purple Heart Parkway project, I think we mentioned to you in the past that there was a drainage issue we've been working with. We're resolving that hopefully this week and then reach an agreement to get that addressed over the wintertime. And then also, we're still working on the punch list for actually having the Purple Heart Parkway project being handed over to the city and the county. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's one outstanding item that I'm working with them on. And then it'll be wrapped up.
So we're almost there for that one too, which will be nice. That's all I have.
I didn't come to the council meeting this morning, so I don't know what the conversation was around, but, you know, I know you're talking about Cargill, but right beside them is Valero. And you know, that's a big deal. So, you know, having, Valero is in a very unique area, trying to do business like they're doing, because they're competing with the sugar plant in Lafayette and you know, some of these other processors. And so most of the time, those guys are in areas that's abundance of grain. And so I mean, that's one of the reasons they looked into the exhaust mitigate, or the carbon mitigation, was to try to you know, increase that profit. And so I don't want to, I don't know if they said anything today about Valero, but that's a big tie-in here. That's where the grain comes from that goes over there, so.
Well, one of the parts of the cargo product is expansion of capacity and also throughput, to get them through faster. So I think that was designed to help Valero, and they've also reorganized how the trucks are coming, because one of the big questions was always vehicles on 1100 North, and they're working on, they'll have some additional storage and additional lane going into Cargill. So I do think a lot of it's for Valero.
Okay, good. Okay, I think that's it for the staff report, so we'll go ahead and move into claims, and they were distributed earlier. We have the two components of it, which is the water main project and then our normal claims. Our normal claims total $10,754.08. Going through them real quick, we've got a little over $2,200 for DT's firm, $761 for Jeff Franklin, his firm, Lockmuller, $5,600 and some change. BCS Management, website stuff, $477, and Temper Sealy, the bond payments were $1,650. That one was a total at $10,754.08. And I think we can do these together. The water main project has $122,029.10, with 118, the vast majority of it going to the Grade X, the contractor out there, and then about $3,500 going to Lockmuller. So we have two different numbers here, $10,754.08, and the other one $122,029.10. Do we have a motion to pay these?
I'll make a motion to pay both the $10,754.08 and the $122,029.10.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. And I think that does it. So appreciate everybody coming in today.
Move to adjourn.